Today I'll be interviewing Darcy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
So, my first question is at the night of the ball in Marytown, why did you choose to not dance with Elizabeth and belittle her by your rude comment?
Well, you see, during that point of my life, I was very worked up over all the different social classes and the different reputations that came along with them. So I ended up coming off very arrogant and didn't want Elizabeth's lower social class to ruin my reputation.
Interesting. Well, it's good to see that you are now able to look past social classes and be with who makes you happy. Also, you and Mr. Bingley's different personalities seem to shine through at the night of the ball. How are you guys such great friends considering your personalities are very different?
Good question. Well, personally, I think that when people say opposites attract, it's true. Mr. Bingley's personable and cheerful social tactics helps to balance out my arrogance and ignorance that I contain at times.
That must be an interesting friendship. But I guess it seems to make sense. On the other hand, what made you start to form an interest in Elizabeth, and how did you feel when she declined your offer to dance with you at the Lucas house?
Well, I truly think I began to generally like her when I began to understand her personality more. At parties, she was so interesting, and her conversations were intriguing. She appeared to be a dynamic girl who I wanted to get to know more. And honestly, when she rejected my offer to dance, I kind of expected it, due to my rude comments I made to her at the ball. But as you can see, I wasn't going to let that get to me.
Well, I guess when you say don't judge someone until you get to know them, it's true. Also, how did you feel when Mrs. Bingley became jealous of your admiration towards Elizabeth?
Honestly, it didn't change anything. My feelings towards Elizabeth only grew stronger, due to the more obstacles that it would take to get for her to fall for me. Truthfully, I kind of like the chase of it all, and I, like I stated in the novel, were it not for the inferiority of her connections, he should be in some danger.
Wow, I didn't really perceive you to think like that. Anyway, I know you were not Wickham's #1 fan to begin with. So, looking back on the novel, how do you feel about Wickham making you look like an untrustworthy, stingy liar to Elizabeth, due to his remark about the inheritance?
Well, it certainly didn't help my cause out, but I think by Jane relaying information from Bingley that Wickham is untrustworthy, it may have made the circumstances a little better. However, I felt that I needed to seal the deal by writing her a letter to explain my innocence, and to let her know that I was not who Wickham made me appear to be.
Good idea! On a more dismal note, how did you feel after your first proposal to Elizabeth?
Let's just say it wasn't one of the high points in my life. Honestly, considering what Elizabeth thought of me, the recent accusations against me surrounding the inheritance, and my responsibility of her sister Jane and Bingley's relationship ending, I kind of deserved it, I guess. I was just so infuriated with her that I needed to express my feelings for her.
Well, at least you let her know how you felt. Also, how did you think things changed for you and Elizabeth after you gave her the letter?
I think it definitely changed his perspective on both me and Wickham. She definitely realized Wickham's untrustworthiness and therefore began to trust me a little more. Overall, I feel that it was the true start of our relationship.
Interesting. Seems like the letter really did help you. Anyways, what are your feelings on your encounter with Elizabeth at the estate of Pemberley?
I think that Elizabeth finally began to see my true colors that day, and that's when her feelings towards me truly began to change.
Interesting. So, considering that, how did you feel when Miss Bingley criticized Elizabeth at Pemberley?
I believe that she was just jealous and spiteful about my feelings towards Elizabeth, but I wasn't going to let her rude comment and outburst change anything.
Good for you. Also, I was wondering how did your conversation with Elizabeth discussing Lydia and Wickham affect things?
Well, considering it was one of the first times we both agreed on anything, that Wickham needed to be exposed publicly to save Lydia, it went pretty well. We both were able to apologize to each other about not professing Wickham's untrustworthiness behavior to the world, which helped both of us form a closer bond with one another.
So, it looks like you and Elizabeth were finally getting closer at this point. Was that a factor that led you to pay off Wickham?
Well, yes it was. Yes. It was very simple and an easy decision. My love for Elizabeth was so immense that I would have done anything in my power to have her family avoid the shame and carry the bad reputation that Lydia and Wickham were about to cause.
Well, that was very considerate of you. How do you think Elizabeth reacted when she found out you were the one to pay Wickham off?
I imagine she was quite surprised. Happy or upset? I'm not sure. But if there was ever a point where she realized how much I cared for her, I imagine it would have been then.
I imagine so. So, looking back on the novel, were you surprised when you found out how Elizabeth handled the encounter with Lady Catherine about the rumor of your upcoming proposal?
No, not at all. That situation was actually a great example of her confidence, social grace, and her respect. She handled the situation wonderfully, and I wouldn't have expected anything less from a wonderful girl like Elizabeth.
Agreed. So, how do you feel when Elizabeth told you her feelings have changed for you ever since your first proposal?
Well, honestly, I was extremely ecstatic and relieved. I genuinely loved her and wanted to marry her, so hearing that she liked me back was the only thing I needed to know before I proposed again.
That sounds reasonable. So, how did everything unfold after you proposed for the second time?
Well, thankfully, she said yes. It took time convincing both her family, and mine that we truly wanted to be engaged. But once the convincing was over and our story was told, everyone came to accept the circumstances and, most importantly, supported me and my beloved Elizabeth on our journey together.
Well, I am so happy for the both of you. Good luck in the rest of your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today.